this is Governor Bobber. I like good day, doctors.
George Allen here. Good day, doctors.
Hey, good Friday, everyone. It's always a good Friday when you're in Florida. Wonderful time here. Apologies, I'm not doing the show from the beach like we normally do when I'm in Florida, but hey, there you go. It's Florida. We have rain, whatever might happen. Never call it some rain. That's one of the reasons why we're at home instead, or as Rush would call it, Southern Command for Dr. Politics. Welcome, everyone. Dr. Trot, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Dwight. It's been a long time, but
yeah,
we have a lot to talk about.
You've been missed. I'm sure your grandmother is pleased to see you on tonight.
I wonder if she's. I don't even know if she's watching. I'll text her.
And Jeff, how's everything going?
Not too bad. Thank you.
Yeah, we all took a shellacking, I think, this Tuesday.
What's that again?
I said I think we all took a little bit of a shellacking this past Tuesday. But let's start on a happy note. The Orioles are at 500. And everybody say your prayers that the Orioles win tonight or the Yankees lose. Especially you Red Sox fans. You really want the Yankees to fail. So how's, what do you call? So where would we like to start? Election results, or do you want to start with something?
Yeah, let's talk about the election. I mean, I think that's one reason that Jason's here too, because I'm sure Jason's got a lot of opinions about this. But it was a big Tuesday primary. For me personally, I was pretty shocked at Kelly Schultz's loss, and I was also surprised by how big Neil Parrott won. But Jason, why don't you kind of go through what you're seeing, and can you give us some insight as to what the heck happened there with the governor's race?
I mean, I'm going to be honest. For the last 2 weeks, I kind of this kind of was the result I was expecting. Maybe not this big, but I really think the DGA ads, the anti-Dan Cox DGA ads, that played. I couldn't turn on the TV or open the mailbox or go on Facebook or go on YouTube, anything. You couldn't do anything without seeing them. I mean,
yeah.
When you're given a gift of a $3 million+ ad buy right before the election, I think I think that really boosted Dan across the finish line, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
So, and then Neil Parrott, I don't know. I was shocked. I bought it. I bought into the hype. I thought Matt was going to win. I put it on my we keep a little prediction spreadsheet.
Yeah, Matthew in your pool too, huh?
Neil crushed him.
Yeah, I mean, well, here's the thing. Neil did have 3 years head start on Matthew. Matthew started.
Sure.
Matthew started 10 weeks ago. He had raised $300,000 in 10 weeks. That is phenomenal, frankly.
I mean, he had like 2.5 months to build enough name ID to take on Neil, who's run before and basically has been running 3 years. I mean, it's kind of a tough task. But I was impressed with Matt because he united. He was the uniter. He got Hogan's endorsement and Don Jr.'s endorsement. I mean, that's impressive. So.
Not even Dan Cox got Don Jr.'s endorsement.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little about the Cox campaign. I mean, let's talk about the elephant in the room right now. Can Dan Cox raise the money that he needs to raise to become governor? He needs to have at least a $5 million war chest to go up against Westmore, frankly. Can Dan do it? I hope he can. He should be able to do it in theory. It is a uphill battle, but remember, Larry Hogan did it. It could happen, but the ability of raising money, that's the big concern I have for Dan, because Dan did not raise a lot of money, and the DGA is not going to come in and do ads for him in general, frankly.
No, not anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't. And well, the first time Hogan ran, I mean, it wasn't around, but he didn't relying on the big checks from the big donors who probably discounted him as not being able to win.
Yep.
And this time around, it's probably going to be the same situation for Dan, because I mean, we're in Maryland. Most of the big donors are probably just going to assume the Democrats going to win. I mean, honestly, if I was in that situation, I probably would have done the same thing Hogan did 4 years ago, and do the public financing
Yeah.
thing.
Mhm.
Only take, what is it, $300, $400 at
Yep.
most, and let it multiply. Because I mean, that's he'll probably I haven't looked through his reports at all, but I would guess that a lot of his donations are small dollar donations instead of big
Yeah.
ones.
And
But
those,
Dwight, I mean, and Jason, I mean, I look at the Hogan campaign, when he first ran. I mean, one of the brilliant things about what Hogan did is that in essence he laid the groundwork with Change Maryland. So he had this bipartisan support, and look, we have a lot of Republicans out there who are kind of ticked off at Hogan because of his stance on Trump and a bunch of other things and stuff like that. But Hogan hasn't shocked me in any way. In order to win in Maryland, you have, a Republican will have to govern from the middle anyway, and they have
Yep.
to reach across the aisle. They have to do those things. But Hogan too, I just thought, the guy was personable. I mean, he was willing, he was out there glad handing. He had the whole bus thing going on. He was all over the place. He learned people's names. He made you feel like you were somebody, even if you were just a $10 contributor or whatever. He overlooked anybody in that sense. And he had the advantage of coming off an O'Malley administration that had raised taxes 43 times or something like that. So he could use that as a bludgeon. I mean, even Democrats, I mean, are kind of like, how many taxes can even the Democrats take? And he was very effective and a weak opponent. All of those things came to be. And then, he was very popular 4 years later. He had shown that he hadn't been some like radical right-wing Republican governor. He stood up against Trump. It played perfectly in there. Cox, this is a problem. Look, Dwight, I don't care how much money Cox raises unless it's like $25 million or something like that. Somehow raise some money. Cox doesn't have this ground game to me. I mean, he attracted a certain group of voters. Look how split the party is now in terms of the people I know. I mean, I made a pointed jab on Facebook without mentioning any names, and I got immediate blowback from the Cox supporters about this. But I don't see, Cox says he's going to be a unifier. This is going to be tough. I mean, well, I don't agree with Brian Griffiths of that he wants, as soon as registration opens up again in August, that he's going to switch to unaffiliated. I understand his frustration at this point. Okay, I mean, I fully understand why he's doing it, because I'm going to have a real tough time voting for Cox unless I see something radically different.
well, here's, I mean, one of the problems. I'll tell you this. First of all, when the organization, both campaigns, I'll say it, were horribly organized. Kelly Schultz's folks should have had a ground game. They should have people at every single poll. And that factor, you look at Dan Cox's people, were at every poll I went to. There was a Dan Cox person there. And then you had Central Committee members playing fast and loose with representation as well. It's like they were playing, the old game of European policy, scratch a Russian, find a Tartar kind of game. We're on the Central Committee. Oh, but I'm a Cox supporter. That's all, handing out Cox stuff. It's, you can't. They try to have it both ways. And I'm going to be blunt. The newly minted Central Committee folks that got elected, and this is not sour grapes, as everyone here pretty much knows, I really didn't even want to run this time. But I think we're going to have it's going to be a hard right state Central Committee coming up, and we're not the Florida Republican Party or the Texas Republican Party where you can have a Dan Cox type of candidate and he'll win. And we can be right wing. Maryland, let's face it, Maryland is a middle of the road state. There's a reason why Bob Ehrlich won, and there's a reason why Larry Hogan won. they ran as centrists. They were not radical, right wingers. I mean, the commercials that they'll run right now against Dan Cox will be, he's a Trump plant. He's going to get rid of abortion in Maryland. They're not even, and Dan's going to need to get the message out. Economic prosperity. He will continue the prosperity that Larry Hogan has built in the state of Maryland. That is what his message needs to be. He should not get sucked into these social issue arguments, frankly, when he's going forward. It's got to be about, it's the economy, stupid. 9.1% interest. I'm sorry, 9.1% inflation. And we might have 9.1% interest by the end of the summer. Who knows? He needs to run on inflation. He needs to run on kitchen table issues that affects everyone. If he's going to run, it's kind of like kind of reminds me of Don. You were there as well, the 1992 Republican primary, and then the convention. Where you have Pat Buchanan getting up and giving his speech and so on. And I think that hurt President Bush in '92 against Bill Clinton because he was focused on the social issues when America was focused on kitchen table issues. And I think Dan Cox, if he's going to be successful, it's got to be kitchen table issues. He can't just go around talking about, he can't be a one-trick pony. He can't just talk about COVID and, COVID, abortion, Larry's bad, Democrats bad. He can't talk just about, he needs to talk about his agenda for keeping Maryland safe. He needs to talk about what his economic plan is. He might even want to do highlight some of the people he'd have in his cabinet, so people feel comfortable voting for Dan Cox, because right now he's been painted by the DGA, like it or not, as this ultra right wing, ultra MAGA Republican running in Maryland, and he's going to have to do some fancy dancing to run towards the middle, frankly, if he plans to win.
Well, he's going to have to separate himself from his record, which shows a lot of that. So that's
that's going to be. I think one of the most thing he said was when he called Vice President Pence a traitor. You need to distance yourself from saying silly things like that. Because no, Vice President Pence was not a traitor. Vice President Pence is a great American. He did a great job as governor of Indiana. He did a great job when he was in Congress. He did a great job as vice president. Frankly, I think most Americans today would say they take Mike Pence over Kamala Harris any day of the week, frankly. And his kind of tied to the hip of the January 6th vote, that's another one. That's going to hurt him in Maryland, frankly.
Yeah, and the Democrats will use all of that. And I mean, this is
already started. The messaging is already from the Democrats and the media. It's both. I mean, they're both hitting on that on the stuff that Cox has said and done, and they're having just a blast talking about everything that Baruch said. So, I mean,
can we talk about the AG's race a little bit? We had a great qualified prosecutor in Jim Shallot, who to Marylanders are like a slip and fall attorney, who has dubious ties to, was it the Sons of the Confederacy or something else? It was one of those, what was it? Do you remember the name of the group? But it was something with the Confederacy in it. And he did think the national anthem should be Dixie, and they could have had a tried prosecutor in the AG's office. We got Mike Peruka. And I think Mike Peruka is a bigger liability to Dan Cox than Dan Cox is, frankly. Is he going to be supporting Dan Cox? And that's going to be asked. I am a candidate for county council in Montgomery County. I'm sure I will get the question. Do you plan on voting for Dan Cox and Mike Peruka? And the answer is going to be yes for Dan Cox. The jury's out on Mike Peruka.
Yeah, I mean, I think Republicans are kind of in that. It's one of those cases again, and this happens a lot, where you're in that difficult situation. I mean, I think we're good conservatives, or we want to support the Republican Party, and then we get these candidates, and you're like, okay, let's may have to hold my nose. I mean, look, when I voted for Bush the second time, you know,
Yeah, I had to hold my nose for that one.
you know, after that whole disaster with read my lips, no new taxes, and all that stuff, it wasn't easy. I mean, there's no doubt that he had a whole different philosophy than Ronald Reagan, right?
Yep.
And so that was hard. I went ahead and did it. This one was even harder. But and you look at candidates and you're like, you know, this is what Republicans. This is a golden opportunity to win seats, retain seats, you know, and we blow it. You know, Kelly Schultz. You know, I keep looking at it. I mean, I keep thinking in my mind about, you know, once again, how Hogan ran his campaigns and how effective he was. Kelly, I liked her, but she didn't inspire me. And I really don't know what she really stood
Kelly's message should have been, let's continue to change Maryland for the better. Not the 3 words she had. I forget what they were: prosperity, future, and stuff like that. You know, I don't remember what her whole thing was. It was prosperity or whatever it was she was pushing. But, you know, Jason, do you remember her 3 words? You know, safe, prosperous, something or another. I mean, she just needed to do the George H.W. Bush campaign of 1988. I will continue the work of Ronald Reagan. She just had to say, you like what Larry Hogan's done for the last 8 years? You want to vote for me. I will continue Larry Hogan's prosperity. I will keep changing Maryland for the better. But she, you know, I don't know if it was a consultant that came up with the fact that it's, we want to do this and we want to do that, you know. And, you know, I think that was one of the biggest drawbacks for the Kelly campaign. Also, organization for the Kelly campaign, you know, where was that organization? Why didn't they have a ground game planned 60 days ago? You know, they should have had a ground game ready to go. You know?
I'll be honest. I know somebody who, I guess, contacted the whoever was in charge of Kelly's campaign in Howard County, and they never heard anything back. So they came over to Anne Arundel County, working the polls on election day. So they
Yeah,
came
and
over.
I tell you the same thing in PG County. Whoever's doing it.
Which, ironically, Howard County is one of 2 counties she won. So
Did she win PG County?
I don't know if the mail-ins changed anything. I know on election night, the only 2 counties Kelly won was Howard and Kent.
Wow, Kent County, that's pretty good. But
yeah, but that time, if she only won 2 counties, she got slaughtered. That's terrible.
And here's over at the Beltway where the IKEA is, where all the candidates put up their signs. I sent an email to the Kelly people, the Kelly guy that was running PG County. I said, hey, get a 4x8 there. Robin Ficker had a sign there. Every Democrat running for dog catcher and above had a sign there. Why isn't there a Kelly sign there? You know,
Speaking of Robin Ficker, we don't need to talk about that for very long, but what a case study on how to waste a lot of money.
Well, you know, here's the thing. Robin, before your time, there was a guy named Ross Pierpont in Maryland politics. And he would run for governor, Senate, Congress. And he would never run to win because he was saying he didn't want to, because for him, becoming governor would be taking a pay cut from his 2 medical practices. And when he passed away, I think his net worth was like somewhere around $35 million, right? And he even got duped in the process in his older years. Somebody called him and said they had some oil wells to sell, and he needed to wire like $250,000 from Walmart to him, and yeah, that did happen. But Ross would run for office, and I think Robin is the same vein. Robin doesn't want to take a pay cut by becoming governor. Robin is probably right now working on his next ballot initiative in Montgomery County. Right now,
that's where Robin's effective, really.
That is the most effective thing Robin does is his ballot initiatives.
Yeah, I mean, he got us tax limitation. He got us term limits in Montgomery County. You know, I think the next thing Robin should do is tie the county executive salary to the governor's salary and the council members to the state senators, and change the charter that say, hey, if you're on the council, you can have a job too. You shouldn't be making that much money as a councilman, frankly.
Yeah. Yeah, Montgomery is probably the only county in the state where you're a full-time councilman.
Yeah, I mean, it should only be part time,
And well, honestly, and even the Board of Ed in Montgomery County, I mean, those people make I think it's almost $60,000-$70,000 for Montgomery.
Yeah, and we have a friend of ours that's on the
Montgomery County,
board.
they paid like $9,000 a year.
That's a stipend, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you
And we have a
basically
friend that's on the
you get the
Anne
money
Arundel
to like
County.
eat on the days you work and like drive
Yeah.
down to the
And
board
with
building.
$5 gas, but a lot of stuff.
Jason, just out of curiosity, hey, Jason, just out of curiosity, I mean, is the party, the state party, are they going to do polling on this governor's race, or have they started kind of? You've been looking around, knowing what's going to happen here in terms of who the opponent is. Is there a strategy that that the party is going to plan on to try to help Cox or support him in some way? I mean.
I mean, I haven't really talked to Dirk or Corinne or anything about it.
It's a little early too, I think.
Yeah, pretty much. I've kind of been on break mode since Tuesday, except yesterday going up to the Board of Elections. So I don't know. I mean, I think as long as if Dan can raise the money, I mean, I think we'll try to maybe, help as much as we can and see. I don't know
the
what
state party's not
about
awash with money
that,
either.
but what's that, Dwight?
I said the state party's also not awash with money. The state party cannot be the biggest funder for the Dan Cox for governor campaign.
No, I don't think that'll happen at all, honestly.
Dan's gonna have to get on the phone and dial for dollars,
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna have to raise a lot of money because I mean, a big critique I heard from a lot of people who have been around and done this longer than I is that his primary campaign it wasn't a professional campaign. It was all volunteer run. There were no
campaign manager.
Yeah, there was no true campaign manager. I mean, I think Dan's daughter did it, and she won, so I guess she didn't do too bad of a job. But
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if they want to win, I mean, I think that they'd have to really run a different style campaign.
Yeah. I think one of the other stuff that we learned is a lot of the central committee. There's a big central committee changeover that has happened this time around. Like in Montgomery County, I think we got almost pretty much most of the old guard that's been there for 12 years. That when Don got first on the committee, I think they're all gone now.
That's what it looked like to me. I mean, it seems like maybe the old guard that's still there is Paul Foley and Marcus.
Well, Paul hasn't even been there since Marcus.
Joe Gillen's been on there for a while though.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Joe,
and then I saw Alex Bush say earlier that they voted anybody who was under 40 got voted off.
Yeah, it's a geriatric ward.
Yeah.
I mean, the way I look at it, it gives you more time to focus on the Republican Club, Montgomery County Republican Club. We've got the State Conservative Club and a bunch of other stuff, And I got my feet all over other state central committees and stuff like that. So, like I'll be going to North Carolina next year for their state party convention and maybe Texas.
People ask me who to vote for some of these things, like these at-larges and also in their specific districts. And I'm like, who are these people?
Yeah, exactly.
I know the people that I was not really supporting, and then I'm like, who are these other guys? I have no idea who they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in Anne Arundel, half the committee is now gone. So half the committee is going to change in November. Right down the middle, it's 7 people are leaving, and then I guess seven are staying, or 6 are staying. And there's some of the people I don't know at all. And,
are you going to be chairman, Jason?
I saw on their Facebook and stuff about how we're gonna stop mandates and do all these crazy different all these big policy positions that we're gonna change as a
and that is not the job of a central committee. We are not a policy organization. We've got 2 jobs: elect Republicans and cover the polls on primary and general election, and now early voting.
Hopefully hold Reagan dinner, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the job. We're not.
And occasionally appoint a state legislator.
Yeah. That's another one.
I mean, Montgomery County, I guess you don't have to worry about that, but
no,
occasionally in Anne Arundel we do.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
tell you this,
Montgomery County, that's not an issue.
although one thing I do feel is some of our down ballot, this whole top of the ticket may hurt some of our down ballot candidates that definitely were shoe-ins a couple days ago. Might have a little tougher time, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it going both ways. I mean, I've seen everybody kind of say that, like, that it's going to kill all of our down ballot candidates, but I also think
I don't
that,
think it's not going to kill all of them. It's gonna be the bubble candidates. You know, like let's say there's a toss-up district. You know, like Christian Mealy's district, right? He's running for state senate, right? It's not really a toss-up because he's got a Harford County district, correct? And he doesn't have
yeah,
any in Baltimore County. So if he had his old district where he was in just Baltimore County, I would say is one of those bubble districts. It's a 50-50 shot. You know, that Kathy Klossmeyer would be able to beat him. You know. With headwinds and stuff like that. But I think he'll be safe. But it's like we have good candidates that are running against Kathy Smiro. She's got a bubble district. I hope it doesn't. I hope she gets elected because I think she'd be great in the state house. But I think we've got a lot of pollen by the way in Florida. Just to say. But we've got I think Kathy Smiro.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure about that down ballot thing either because, I mean, Cox, I don't know Cox, it was strong enough one way or the other to help or to hurt. In a presidential election, there's definitely an influence on the presidential candidates to what happens down ballot. I don't think it necessarily applies in the gubernatorial election, particularly when you don't have an incumbent, one way or the other. I mean, I think, look, unless Dan Cox, puts out some crazy ads or something like that, we know that the Democrats have already done their job. They got the man in there that they wanted in there as their opponent. They're not going to pour any money to lay out, how conservative Dan Cox is. I mean, they don't want to hype him. They'll just, they're going to support their candidate. For a lot of people, Dan Cox is going to be okay. He's a Republican. I'll vote for him. But they'll just pick it up. I don't know that it has the same effect necessarily down ballot at this time around. And the Republicans are, we're not that big. So I mean, I just don't see the effect.
Remember, John, the Democrats wanted Donald Trump to be their opponent for Hillary, and that didn't work out well for them. Knock on wood, maybe it happens again in Maryland. I don't feel hold my breath.
I don't know. I mean, was it Biden won what 65-32 over Trump? So you got it could be very much like that for Cox. Who knows?
Well, and here's my two kind of things. Is one, last time we had a gubernatorial election, we had an extremely popular governor at the top of the ticket. And it didn't help any down ballot candidates really. Yeah. So I feel like it could go back the other way. And if we have an unpopular person at the top of the ticket, it doesn't really hurt anybody because it doesn't.
Maybe
was that when we were doing the drive for 5 and everything?
Yep.
Yeah. And the Magnificent Seven. Did that ever happen? The Magnificent Seven, or did we pull back from that?
I think
the
that
drive for 5,
like a second. I think the drive for 5 was more.
Yeah, that was the one I remember.
But then here's the other thought that somebody told me is that theoretically, if the polls say that Westmore's polling at 58% and Cox is polling in the low 30s, what if Democrats stay home because they think it's in the bag? I mean, that's
there are a lot of unknowns here. Yeah.
So Jeff, let's bring you into the conversation. How are things on the land in Howard County? How are folks, taking the losses? I know you've been busy with school and work, so I don't know if you had a chance to talk to
I don't know. I kind of feel like Howard County. I mean, I'm not going to be super like in Howard County, but I think it's a bit of a mecca for me. I mean, it's a nice area. Mm-hmm. I think it's got a good mix. Obviously.
And Alan Kittleman will be your next county executive.
Yeah, so I mean, I think I kind of wish the county kind of went with the state went, but like Don was saying, I mean, this is really a centrist state. I mean, you can't just have an ultra-right candidate running in the state and expect to pull everyone together. And I was looking at some of the comments, and even for Jim Shalit, I mean, on his Facebook page, everyone, calling him a rhino after he got the endorsement from Hogan. It just was disconcerting. So I'm like, I understand people have, extreme views, and that the whole Trump and January 6th thing has been very polarizing. But, ultimately, you need to elect someone who's electable, and I think that, again, I echo the sentiment that Dan Cox, I don't have anything against him. I just don't think that he is necessarily right for Maryland. I don't think he's going to win it because he's going to be too polarizing. And so, yeah, there are people going to vote for him, but those same people would vote for any Republican because they just hate the Democrats. So their thing is like, Cox is the most right wing we have, but ultimately, if Robin was, a candidate, they would vote for Robin because they just don't want to see a Democrat win.
Yeah.
So again, I was really disappointed that Kelly Schultz didn't get more swing, and I understand that. I'm not really in charge of her election campaign. I didn't really see a lot of Kelly's signs, and she certainly didn't, hang her head everywhere. I mean, I don't know if it was just a financial thing or what, but I really would have liked to have seen more kind of hitting the streets with Kelly, just because I think she really had a great message, and I think she needed to just get it out to more people. Because again, it was more of a unifying message, and it was about education. It was about things that people cared about. It was not just like I'm like Trump. It was very much like this is what we did in the Hogan administration. This is the kind of stuff we can do with the U. These are priorities, the things that people actually care about. I mean, people love to talk armchair politics about, like you said, the abortion and other types of hot topic issues. But when it comes down to it, people really care about things like the inflation and how much they're spending for gas. These are things that people really care about. And if you say, hey, we have a plan to get you out of this, we have a plan to help your business, a plan for your family, education, I think that's a really resounding message. And I just don't. I mean, again, I was listening to you guys. I don't think. From what I've heard, Dan Cox doesn't really have a solution. He just has his rhetoric and stuff. So I mean, I don't know. I'll see how it goes. I'm not really optimistic at this point. I kind of figured this is how it's going to turn out, just because I tend to be a bit of a pessimist in these kind of things, because I always assume that the worst that can go wrong will go wrong. But again, it's like Howard County is its own little island. I mean, it's not it's not in the red part of Maryland. It's not it's not I hate to say Montgomery County. I mean, Montgomery County's really changed, but it's not PG, and it's certainly not Montgomery anymore. So it really is kind of a moderate kind of county. All like that'd be great, but it's just not. I mean, we got extremes, and we got middle counties, and ultimately it's just I think we need to have, if we're going to win the governor race, we got to have someone who can take a central position and say, okay, these are the things we really care about, but these are things that like, don't rock the boat. Like you said, whatever your personal feeling is on these hot topic issues, fine, let's just shelve it. We can talk about this later, but we got more important things to talk about right now. We've got the things that actually hitting people's pocketbooks. Those are things I think people really need to focus on. And so if you just direct the conversation and say, okay, yeah, this is an important issue, but what's more important right now is getting people through this crisis.
I mean, how is Westmore going to defend Joe Biden's dismal record? I mean, the price of crude oil has gone up. We don't have a Buc-ee's or a Love's or a Pilot gas station in Maryland where we can get gas.
Why? We have a Love's. We have a Love's in Maryland.
Oh, where is the Love's? Is it on 95 or is it
in Western Maryland, just past Rocky Gap.
Yeah. Okay. See, I never went that far back in Western Maryland.
It's like, I don't know. It's a mile or two past.
Because there used to be one off of 15 I used to go to, but that's not there anymore.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
No,
Just to let you know, there is one Love's in Maryland, I know.
Hey, that's what the show's about, But the price of gas in Florida is I filled up for $3.86, $3.76, and $3.99. So it's I hate to say that's a bargain, but it is compared to what we pay in Maryland. But I think that's
Dwight, you bring up an interesting question, because I think this is part of the general debate, is that how much of the national issues, in terms of trying to tie a Westmore to the whole, White House Biden administration, is that or will that play in Maryland versus whatever the other local issues are. I mean, I think, if we're all seeing rising gas prices, yeah, I mean, we definitely have, the Republicans definitely can hammer away at the Democrats for having that
Westmore supports
tax
the
increase, and stuff
Westmore
like that.
supports the radical green agenda by Joe Biden. He supports the Green New Deal. He supports mass transit, putting us all in train. He supports Thrive. We just need to define Westmore as Joe Biden light, who has a 38% approval rating right now, or even less, or is it less than that now?
No, it's just lower than that. He's got some of the worst presidential ratings we've seen. So yeah, I mean, if you can tie them to that, and this is the Democrat strategy nationwide for the most part. I think is going to be distancing themselves as much as they can from Biden at this point, because why do you want to tie your fate to a guy who's in the low 30s for approval rating?
That's the thing about Maryland is we have to basically the Cox campaign needs to define Westmore before they can define what Dan Cox as a January 6th ultra MAGA Republican. That's what they need to do. They need to basically, you don't like Donald Trump, but did you like paying $2 for gas? Yes. So, Westmore supports $5 gas, $6 gas. I mean, it is sad these folks, the Democrats, feel we need to go into a nasty recession to bring inflation down. It is criminal that they're doing that, and we are headed down the road to a recession. And that's another thing, we could be in a fairly bad recession come November, and that also plays in. But it all matters on if the campaign is able to define their opponents. Who defines who first wins the election?
Yeah, and I think too. I mean, and Jeff mentioned this briefly in terms of the whole rhino thing. With Shalek, it's just that the Cox people, like our old buddy Illyrio and those guys, is that they have to quit just labeling anybody who supported Schultz and Shalek and these people as rhinos. I mean,
by the way, Illyrio, you supported Larry Hogan twice.
Supported Kelly Schultz and Jim Shalek. Yeah. We are not rhinos, but they have immediately like that, and they were dancing on the Schultz grave, like, oh, look at all those rhinos that supported her. I'm sorry, it's like, no, we think we supported a more principled, stable, electable candidate.
And remember, everyone, Illyrio was never Trump until he wanted to be a delegate to the convention. You should see some of the posts he did about anti-Trump stuff because he was with Ted Cruz. We never did that, but and Illyrio supported Larry Hogan twice. And is he a rhino? Or are you a fair weather supporter? I mean, that's the way I feel about a lot of these Dan Cox people. Like, did you not support Larry Hogan the last 2 times? And by the way, that's another thing. Something about the message to the Cox. You guys need to be gracious winners, so to speak. You trashing the Kelly supporters. How is that going to work out for you? Do you think the Kelly people will want to work with you guys if you keep trashing the Kelly supporters? I don't think so. You need to welcome them in.
Look, we need to unify everybody as much as possible because the registration numbers are sadly so much against us that we've got to do that. I mean, Hogan crossed over. Cox has got to find a way to do it. This is going to be a much more uphill battle for him because he is a more conservative right-wing candidate. So it's going to be a much tougher road for him to hoe going forward. Not impossible, I mean. We got Hogan, but Hogan was a very different animal. And I think the Republicans can learn a lot of lessons from Hogan. They can learn a lot of lessons from Ehrlich. I mean, Ehrlich was very conservative when he was in Congress.
Yes,
but he understood that he had to govern more from the middle. And, and that's the way it's got, and you've got to portray yourself that way. And so it'll be interesting. Look, and Hogan's got these, we're saying, oh, well, more people are saying I should run for president. No, I mean, that'll be part of your ego. For me, I would love to see Larry Hogan run for Senate because I think he could actually run.
He would have won that seat.
He could have won.
And I'm sorry, I don't think America's ready for a Maryland president, frankly.
No, I mean, certainly not Larry Hogan, but Larry Hogan.
Couldn't do it,
look, if you go to the Senate and you show you can do some things, you can make it later on down the line if you want to. But I think show what you can do nationally, politically, in this vein too. He would do this. He would do the party a big favor by giving us a named candidate who's got experience raising money and was a very popular governor. I mean, Arizona's got that. They wanted a lot of Arizonans wanted Steve Ducey to run, and he declined. Which I think for the Trump effect. The Republicans nationwide, there's holding on to the Senate is going to be tough because
it's a tough fight.
We have so many big candidates out there.
We'll pick up Nevada, we'll pick up New Hampshire, but I think we lose Georgia.
Georgia, Pennsylvania are going to be tough. Wisconsin, that could be tough.
Yeah, but I think Ron Johnson hangs in there. Colorado, we might be able to flip. And Patty Murray.
Yeah, that is a possibility there, but there's no easy path for them unless they get some big surprises. Because I have very little confidence in Herschel Walker. Yes, he's a football hero. He's got, but the things he says on the campaign, that just, I don't know. It just reminds me of the whole Sharon Angle, Christine O'Donnell.
Yes. 2010, we would have taken the Senate. 2010, we could have taken the Senate, but we nominated less than stellar candidates. We had the House, but not the Senate.
A little bit too much Tea Party influence there. That they got carried away with getting people who had these Tea Party ideas, but actually didn't have the the experience.
And didn't Christine O'Donnell also go on Saturday Night Live making fun of the fact they said she was a Wiccan, and she goes, "You better vote for me because do you really want to take the chance to know if I'm a witch or not?" But here's the thing: Mike Huff in Frederick County, he should be county executive. I think Jessica Hare in Anne Arundel County will do fine. She'll be great. And heaven forbid if Dan Cox should lose, Jessica Hare will be our future in Maryland. I think she would be the future for 2026.
Hey, just out of curiosity, because I know you, Dwight, Jason, you probably know these answers off the top of your head because I haven't been following it. So for guys like that are running for other slots, they're basically giving up their state house seats. Were they in super safe Republican districts areas so that their successor will be Republican anyway going forward?
Bill Folden ran for Huff's Senate seat. He won the primary. I think he'll have no issue winning the general election. And then Jessica's seat on the county council is where I live. And Shannon Ledbetter won that primary, and I think she'll have no problem winning that general election either.
Yeah, and what about Mr. Volke is unopposed this time around, right?
Oh yeah, Nathan doesn't have any. He has nobody running against him. Nobody in the primary, nobody in the general.
Who's taking over for Neil then?
Neil
I don't.
But those are safe seats. Neil's seat's going to be.
Yeah, Neil's a safe seat. I don't know who's taking over for him, but I know Neil's in a safe seat.
And I think all in all, we should be able to hold what we have. I think.
I thought Dwight was in a safe seat, but hey, it's.
But I tell you this, something. I did enough of damage to Tom Hucker that he lost the Democrat primary.
I saw that. I did see that Tom Hucker won, and I said,
I think did it was
lost, and I was like, you know what, Dwight probably made him lose.
This is what. That
was the first thing that came to your mind, right?
That's what did it. Now I got to turn my guns at that CNN former CNN guy, Evan Glass. Can we believe anything Evan Glass says? He worked for CNN.
My guess is
no.
Even another election thing that just came off on my phone. I thought this was going to happen, but it looks like the local news outlets have declared Ivan Bates the winner over Marilyn Mosby. So the mail-ins were going Ivan Bates' way. So that's the Baltimore City has gotten rid of their progressive prosecutor. It looks like Scott Schellenberger might beat Robbie Leonard in the mail-in ballots too. So it looks like Baltimore County might be rejecting the whole progressive prosecutor thing. So that's at least some good news, I guess, in parts
What's
of the
Marilyn
state.
Mosby got left? Does she have any more books to sell?
No, no, she will be Dwight's neighbor in Florida.
No, she
That's
does not.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
Dwight,
she
you go with Marilyn.
healthy hobby stories.
All right, Dwight. So who's going to wind up being the county executive for the Democrats, the nominee?
Where in Montgomery County?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be
Blair.
Blair.
I think it's Blair. Yeah, I think it's Blair. I don't. It's. I think Mark Elrick's a done. You know, and you know, think Republicans seem to have this love fest with David Blair. David Blair is no conservative. David Blair is against SROs. David Blair is against what do you call? He's for Thrive. He is for bike lanes. He's for, you know, the wacky green agenda. He is a progressive Democrat. He's been endorsed by Progressive Montgomery County or Progressive Maryland, whichever one, whack job, you know. And you know what's funny? The Democrats that ran for county council that were halfway reasonable, right? I mean, David Blair wants to plant a bunch of trees in Montgomery, a million trees in Montgomery County. And then you had not as wacky, but he also wanted to put a million trees. Scott Goldberg, former chair of the Democrat Senate Party in Montgomery County. He's actually was more reasonable than these other guys. I cannot believe the jailbird Will Jawando, who failed to appear, showed up. He basically won the primary. You know, you got Will Jawando, you got Evan Glass, and you got this saleswoman that won, which is kind of interesting that she won. And the darling of the progressive movement, and they dropped her like a hot potato. Brandy Brooks, she lost. And I think the fact that Tom Hucker and Hans Reamer are both gone, it speaks volumes. The fact that maybe there's something changing in Montgomery County. The fact that this helped bring down Tom Hucker. And I think, and you know what I think, my attacks on Mark Elrick and the Democrat that I did about how he was for he was in charge with our high crime rate spikes this year. That may be what took out Mark Elrick. Maybe Democrats say, hey, I like to walk the streets of Bethesda at night without being mugged. I like to drive my Jag without it being carjacked.
I'll check with the Elrick campaign to see if their internal polling showed how much effect you had there.
I know, it's like I took down 2 incumbents. Did
Dwight? I don't know though, Dwight. I'm looking at the mail-in returns, and the first canvass for Montgomery County hasn't even been reported yet. But Elrick's doing pretty good in the mail-in ballots. I mean, he's only down 600 votes, but he's closed. I think he was down 1,200 on election day, so he's narrowed it down to halfway.
Yeah, I think when I looked at the results
not over
earlier,
yet.
I mean, he had chopped the lead in half with the mail-ins, right?
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, and I think they still have some to report. I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, because the postmarks just had to be done on Tuesday night. You don't know when the post office is actually. Are they delivering on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? And so they've got to give it.
Who knows? I got a campaign mailer today in the mail. So
who's it from? Is it from one of our guys?
Dawn Pulliam. She was running for county council.
Did she win?
No, she lost.
Maybe the mailer got out on the right time.
Anyway.
You got to plan ahead. With these campaigns, you do have to be organized. You got to send out the mailers. You got to do everything right, precisely. Otherwise, you end up with.
Hey, Dwight, what about how far behind? I haven't checked. I've been watching the thread there. How far behind is Marcus for school board?
I think he's closed within 300. I'm not sure. I think it's 300.
I got it up on my phone. Hold on.
Oh, there you go.
Which so
District 3 Board of Ed.
Oh boy. Okay. So what do 2 people move on? Is that how it works?
Yeah. The top
okay.
2, yeah.
So he is down About 2,400 votes. So,
Oh, that's
that's-
kind of a tough.
yeah, that
Okay.
looks. I think that gap might be a little bit too big, and the mail-in ballots don't look like they're breaking his way either.
I thought it was 300. But by the way, Project Blue Book ballot candidates, they all went down, I think, in Montgomery County. The Project Blue Book people.
What
I think
was that?
Fry is the only one from their Project Blue Book ballot that won.
Yeah, I don't even know what the heck that was. I kept seeing references to it, but I didn't look at it.
Well, Project Blue Book
No,
refers
Dwight,
to.
that guy didn't even win either. I don't know yet. I don't know if he is.
So Project Blue Book candidates all got shot down. There you go. You know, we had a lot of colorful candidates running this time, I think. Is that a safe way of saying it, you know, Jason?
I don't know. Are you referring to the personality or what?
I think personality, you know, like
Okay.
we have this one guy who's running in who ran for Board of Education, and I'm like, you know, stop it. I don't need to see the pornography that the left is putting when he posts on Facebook and stuff like that, you know, in schools. Stuff like that. It's but here's the thing. Good news is it was only an election. You know, we still have our health. I still have my palatial, you know, bless you.
Thank you.
You know, I still have my health. I still have my lovely home. That's, you know, so, you know, it's like not, you know, the end of the world. I remember, was it 4 years ago? Was it where people committed suicide after they lost their elections, Jason? Was it 4 years ago or 2 years ago?
I don't know. I don't remember.
No, 4 years ago, we had a couple people that committed suicide because they thought they were going to win and then they lost. I'm like, you know, my God, that is not a reason to kill yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like, I mean, especially like stuff like Central Committee. Those are like high school elections, pretty much.
I mean, I won my Central Committee election, so I think it's a very real election that I did very well.
Yeah, I mean, you had a lot of headwinds against you too.
Yeah, there was a couple of crazy guys running against me, and so
I think it was the Conservative Club package.
Tom Angela has run for office like every year for the past 30 years, and he finally got a win. And now
who's this?
His name's Tom Angelis.
Okay.
He's run for delegate a bunch of times, county executive a bunch of times.
Yeah. So are you going to run for chairman of your Central Committee, Jason?
Yeah, I'm gonna not next week, the week after, I think is when we're supposed to start inviting all of our newly elected members to join all of our lame duck members, and they can come to the meeting. I mean, they don't vote or anything, and you know, we'll see what the vibes are. We'll see.
Yeah.
I'll see how it is with the new group, and I'll decide in the fall.
Yeah. So and
how big is it? How big is the Central Committee in Anne Arundel?
We have right now we have 13, and in December we'll jump up to 15. So
I think, I mean, in Montgomery County, we've got a ton, and that's, you know, so when you have races, I think this is for a lot of the, you know, the average voter have no idea who these people are because they're just hit with a swath of candidates.
Yeah.
And also, Don, our committee, okay, our cracked candidate recruitment committee spent their time recruiting Central Committee candidates instead of recruiting candidates for sheriff, DA, registrar of wills, and so on. Or we have nobody running at 39 or 16 or 20. No, actually 16 and 20. I think 39 we have somebody running. I'm not sure, but we've got. I mean, they should have spent more time recruiting candidates. I mean, we have barely have districts where we got full slates out. You know. And
yeah, I mean, that's, you know, I guess that's true because I mean, I was surprised to see how many people were running for Central Committee overall, you know, and yet we left other places, you know, completely vacant, so the Democrats will just take those.
Were they not able to talk to? Hey, would you want to run for sheriff also? Or hey, we need another person running for county council at large. We've got 3. We need 1 more. No, they were more. This is all about. They were more concerned about the Central Committee races, and they could consolidate power than it was to actually get Republicans elected. You know, and I'll be very fascinated to see what their strategy is going to differ from our strategies, Don. Frankly, you know, Because we were accused of being asleep at the wheel for 16 years, because we haven't had a Republican elected then. So let's see what they can do. Maybe they'll surprise us and we'll win every single seat out there in Montgomery County.
Yeah, I mean that's probably one of the things that the embarrassment for the Central Committee is just that we haven't had a Republican, in the county for how many years now,
And Dwight, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like your best shot at having a Republican represent at least a part of Montgomery County is that District 9B House seat, and then Reed run District 9. And I've from what I've been told, it seems like nobody's really interested in helping with that at all.
That's what I've heard too, and I've been helping our friends. Delegate Novotny, who's going to be Senator Novotny, and Safe Raymond and Jenny Feng and Trent Kittleman. And Trent won our party. Like, that's no surprise.
Yeah, I figured she would.
It's not like she's got the Kittleman name and she's running in majority Howard County. So she's got 8 precincts in Montgomery County.
Well, yeah, and out of those 8 precincts, I mean I think in the primary, Reed got like 500 votes, and then Katie Hester got like 600. So I mean, it's not a lot of people in Montgomery County. But honestly, the Central Committee should be going in whatever part of Montgomery County that is and go and knock on everybody's door.
Oh yeah, no. They're all going to be focused on probably nothing. I mean, we haven't had a Lincoln Day dinner in 4 years, 3 years. When was the last time we had a Lincoln Day dinner, Don? I forget. It's been so long I've forgotten it. I've got a great memory. But I think one of the problems is, a lot of these counties we have. Montgomery County, look, our job, as I tell people, we need to find the best candidates possible to run, but we can't cede ground to the Democrats, because when we cede ground to the Democrats, they'll go over and spend that money at 9A and try to knock Reed out. Or Jenny.
Hey, Dwight, I gotta go upstairs and get Young in the door here.
Okay, we'll hold the fort till you get back.
You're almost out of show.
I know. We'll start doing the final thoughts in a second when you get back. But no, seriously though, I think that's one of the biggest problems we have. Because when you cede ground, these guys all basically will spend money to knock out some of our Republicans that can win. But yeah. So we want to start final thoughts, and then when Don gets back, we'll let Don do his final thoughts. So final thoughts, Jeff Thornton, because we put the least for you today.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still, concerned about the primary results. I don't know how things are going to turn out. I mean, that's I'm, as you probably heard, I was in the running as well for Central Committee in Howard County, and unfortunately I didn't make the cut, but it's fine. I mean, the big thing is, I do want to help out with the, with politics in here, and I do want to help out with helping support the GOP, and I do want to, ultimately help out, both Howard County and just, the state in general. I just don't know. I mean, it seems like there are so many issues that are back and forth. I mean, even with its, the gas moratorium or other types of issues that affects, Maryland, it's like, like Dwight, you're saying, gas out in Florida is so much cheaper. I mean, it is in North Carolina and South Carolina too. It's like, you leave this area and it's just like, it's night and day difference. I'm not saying that, we need to have a permanent, no tax on gas at all, but, states are able to succeed without having so high a price on gas.
Yep.
It's just that, once, and I hate to say, Democrats, but once they kind of feel like there's here's a revenue stream that you would just kind of slip under the so people don't notice so much, whether it's a millage increase on taxes, or if it's a gas tax, or whatever it is. These are kind of little things that people, it's just a little bit, but when you affect every single person in Maryland, it adds up to quite a bit. And so I think they get kind of a little money hungry about this, and they just kind of say, well, once you kind of see how much the tap you can open up of that water, until the pain threshold gets up and people resist it. But you mentioned about O'Malley. It's like it takes something like that where the actual climate has changed so much where people really are just fed up with it. And I don't know if we are at that point yet. I'd hope so, but I don't know. It's a weird environment. I don't know how to predict things. I just kind of have a feeling that it's going to be a hard race for the Maryland governorship for Dan Cox, and I just would have been much more optimistic if Kelly Schultz had won. I think she would have been a much easier candidate to support for many people. But as it is, it's we have the party we have, so support them as we can. It's going to be, I think, just a tougher road. So I don't know. Those are my final thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Don Irvine, you just had your Dan Rather moment, booking your tennis appointment. Tennis game,
Yeah,
right?
I could have turned off the camera, but I thought, hey, why not?
No, that's fine. I'm just making fun. Because your dad did pioneer accuracy in media. Once great organization.
That's true.
But final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I guess just a couple of things. Just the folly of the Biden administration now, touting how gas prices have fallen for a record number, without any reference whatsoever to the fact that where were gas prices when they took office, or where gas prices were a year ago. They're still substantially higher. I mean, Karine Jean-Pierre, the press secretary, even did she even put a video out on her Twitter account. It was like, you people are like, they're stupid, they're tone deaf. I mean, it's unbelievable just how they don't understand how silly and stupid they really look when they're doing this, when they're totally ignoring the basic facts of what's going on here. I mean, I think we're all happy that gas prices have been tailing, going downward, but they're still substantially higher than they were before. I mean, I'm going to hit the road next week, and I'm glad it's cheaper than it was when we knew we were going to take this road trip, but it's still going to cost a lot more per gallon than it did a year ago. So it's still going to be more money out of my pocket, and I'm not happy about that.
Yeah, I wish we had those evil oil men in the White House again, because when they were there, the price of gas was only $2.04 when President Bush 43 and Vice President Cheney of Halliburton,
and it doesn't seem like since the gas prices have been reversing themselves that we hear as much from the White House about the evil oil companies and profiteering, right? They're saying, see what we've done. We've been bringing down these gas prices. They're record.
Where are all those protests in front of the gas stations by Heritage Foundation, which is one of the most expensive gas stations in all of DC? Remember, they always do their little photo ops there about how gas was $3 during the Bush Cheney administration, even though the average was around $2. If you go across the line, go a few blocks down South Capitol, you can find gas for $1.99 and stuff like that. These people are just cheap theatrics, frauds. But anyway, back to your final thoughts.
Yeah, and then the other one is just that One America News network. So they had already lost carriage on DirecTV earlier, and now their contract, they could not come to an agreement with Verizon. So they're being dropped from Verizon Fios, which leaves them with nothing. I mean, leaves them basically with no major cable carriers at all. They've got a couple of minor things like that. I've never been a fan of that network. I thought it was just too lunatic fringe on a lot of stuff. But if you work for that network, you're not going to read anybody except for people who've got like these little piddly little services where you can watch them on.
Well, wait, did they get knocked off of Dish Network also? Because NET was on the Dish Network.
Yeah, they were on DirecTV, but I mean, I think they were on DirecTV, and then they were on Fios. And these guys, because of a lot of the stuff that OA and from January 6th and a lot of other things, they had already been getting lots of blowback from the cable, but at least they couldn't really do anything until the contracts came up, and then when it came up for renewal, they couldn't come up with a deal. And
our old friend John Gizzi is got to be very happy about these news because Newsmax is on Dish and it is on Fios.
No, Newsmax is doing fine, but neither Newsmax nor OAN, they had that surge for a little while. They thought, Newsmax particularly thought they could maybe topple Fox as the conservative channel, and then they fizzled out. Fox found its footing, and they were fine.
Newsmax reminds me of the old NET Free Congress. The sets remind me of the old direct line sets and so on. So, and John Gizzy's a good guy. We've known John Gizzy for a long time, and he's doing a phenomenal job there. But
you can tell with these guys with Newsmax and OAN though too, is that when you have money like you've got Fox is a gusher of money. Everything is very the quality of the sets, the production values are top notch. But when you don't have as much money, they don't measure up. So if you're watching the other guys versus Fox, you're like, okay, well this is just like high schoolish or college. This is just you get used to what major cable news networks can produce, and you watch these are not everywhere close.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
All right, those are my thoughts.
Dr. Jason Trott, final thoughts.
I don't have a whole lot. Just everybody who thinks the world is over because their candidate didn't win yesterday, or not yesterday, on Tuesday. It's not the end of the world. At the end of the day, we're all still Republicans. And Dwight's got his house in Florida.
My lifeboat, as I like to call it.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, everything in November will be fine. If you're a down ballot candidate, just run your race. And it's.
And,
Dwight should just focus on running for county council. And, if he does that, he'll be the next Montgomery County councilman. He'll have to stay in Montgomery County for 4 years.
My brother keeps saying that. He goes, what are you going to do if you win? I go, stop saying that. He goes, you always get what you don't want. And I'm like, you have to remind me about that, don't you? But anyway. So any other final thoughts, Jason?
Nope, I'm done.
Okay, first, I got 3. First one, Maryland Republicans, don't let your heart be troubled. We will survive. We'll get through this. We got through 8 years of Martin O'Smelly. We got through 8 years of Paris Glendenning. But the sad thing is Martin O'Malley and Paris Glendenning were not as crazy as Wes Moore is. So vote Dan Cox, everyone, this November. But my other final thoughts, next Friday, come on out to my fundraiser, my birthday Jubilee celebration, Dwight 5-0. I hit the big 5-0. And we're going to have a nice little party in go to dwightfromoco.com for details and sign up, and we'll tell you where the party is. And my other thoughts, Florida's a great state. I mean, look at everything from how the drivers drive at 95 miles an hour. They think Interstate 95 means 95 is the speed limit. These are great people. Because I tell you, when I was driving down on Saturday between Woodbridge and Richmond, or Hoodbridge as some people like to call it, term of endearment, traffic was so slow, and it was just because people were driving 55 miles an hour. Thank God. Thank you, Governor George Allen, for building the Horseshoe Bypass. I got on there and I was able to go 75 miles to 80 miles an hour, I know. And it was a red Yukon, state troopers in Virginia. But that just shows common sense, thoughtful leadership. Governor Allen, great job. Thank you very much for that bypass. You saved my sanity. And what's up with North Carolina with having 50 miles of construction where there's no construction, but you got those phantom construction zones? What's up with that? Is that like a speed trap? Is that how you guys are making money now? But
what interstate is that?
North Carolina.
No, but what area of North Carolina?
195, like I would say, like right before Lumberton. Okay. There's almost like 50 miles of construction, but there's no real construction. There's a phantom construction zone there.
Interesting. Yeah, I haven't been on 95 that far south. Usually I go on 85 or 29.
But next year I will be at the North Carolina State Party Convention, because now I got a lot more. I'll have a lot more free time next year too. So, but and again, basically, that's my final thoughts. And remember, vote Republican. Vote for all the Republicans because at least we're not going to give you 9.1% inflation or tie the gas tax to inflation. So, vote for the Republicans. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Okay.